Hello, my name is Mark, and today we're gonna figure out the truth. My goal right now, my goal on this earth is to figure out the truth about anything, the truth about things that we overlook. And today we're gonna go over the simple subject of trash. What happens to your trash when you throw it away? Think about it. Have you ever really thought about it? I haven't until I researched this topic. Are you throwing away your trash right? Because I used to think there were people at the sorting facility that just sorted out my garbage regardless if I put it inside the trash, recycling, or compost. Does it even matter? And the biggest question here, and what most videos on YouTube are about, is recycling a scam? And we're gonna go over things you should know. So let's begin. A brief overview though, before we even start the video. We're gonna go over the intro, which I did, the 3-stream station, recyclables, including paper, metals, and glass, compost and trash, plastics, is it a scam? We're gonna go deep dive into some challenges. We're gonna go over myths, solutions, and what can you do right now? Let's talk about the 3-stream station. I'm sure most of you are familiar with In-N-Out, and you got yourself in the situation where you got your tray with all your trash. You got a choice to put your trash into the compost bin, the trash bin, or the recycle bin. Me, I honestly just threw everything in the trash. But let's go over what should be in each bin. Your compost. You're going to be putting all your food scraps in there. Your food scraps including your uneaten fries, your hamburger, the lettuce. All food could go into the compost. Now, I did not know this, but napkins can go in the compost. Also, paper could go in the compost, as well as cardboard. Like, I would put greasy cardboard. We're going to go over compost in another section, but moving on, what should you put in the recycle bin? Clean glass bottles, clean plastic bottles. It has to be all clean, right? Even the aluminum cans, clean. Anything else that doesn't fit the compost or recycle category will go inside the trash. And honestly, sometimes it's actually better to just put everything in the trash, as we will find out. So in the In-N-Out example, you could put your sauce packets, plastic film, utensils, straws, lids, all those tiny things are gonna go inside the trash. You would think that you would put the plastic straw inside the recycle bin, but no, you wouldn't. Just put it in the trash. It doesn't matter. The machine is not going to catch that plastic little straw. The machine doesn't even care about the plastic little straw. They care about the big items, the big cans, the glass bottles, the big cardboards, right? Like behind me over here, I have this right here, this big old cardboard box that held all the coffee pods. This goes in the recycle bin. Okay, and it wouldn't go inside this one. You would put this out on your blue trash can. But again, I digress. We're gonna go over that. Before we go over recycling, let's go sort this ourselves. Questions to ask yourself before even recycling. So we have this right here. We have our In-N-Out cup, and our cup is made out of a paper cardboard, our plastic lid, and our plastic straw. I have here as well, I have the paper straw. The questions to ask are, is it accepted here? Because the thing is, some cities don't even accept recycling. Let me know if your city is one of those cities, because some cities don't even recycle. And the funny thing is, your city is probably pushing out recycle ads. Man, I digress. Back to the questions. Can it be sorted? Is it contaminated? I would put our paper cup in the trash. I would put this bad boy right here in the trash. In some cities, the paper cup can go into the compost. But you would have to look that up yourself. if it can or cannot go in the compost. And if you're just unsure, just put it inside the trash. Let's go to the plastic lid. Where will we put this? Again, we would put this in the trash. Why? Because it's too small to be recycled. Your plastic straw, I would again put that in the trash. Your paper straw, I would not put that here or here. Actually, I will put that here in the compost. Why would I put it in the compost? Because it's paper. But then again, oh my gosh, the paper straw, what I found out is they have a plastic liner, a very thin layer of plastic liner that may harm and contaminate the compost. So just to be safe, the trash. And just like I said in the beginning, everything and anything could possibly just go in the trash. I'm going over this too because I had an encounter with a lady who berated me when I put everything in the trash. And she was like, you could sort all that out. And that was years ago. Okay, let's go over the recyclables. The recyclables include paper, metals, glass, and plastic. But we're going to go over plastic later in this video. Let's just go over the easy stuff. The stuff that actually works and that actually gets recycled. Your paper, your large magazines, your cardboards, all clean, can get recycled. Okay? And if we check this out over here, look at this. Look at this graph for me. 68% of paper was recycled in 2018. The number here is 67,390, and this is 1,000 tons. This actually converts to 67,390,000 tons of paper was generated in 2018, and 45,970,000 tons was recycled. We put this number over this number. That's how we get that almost 69% of the paper was recycled. So recycling paper is effective. Put all your paper items inside the blue bin and you're actually saving the planet. It works. Moving on, you drop off your metals, your aluminum cans inside the recycle bin. The blue one, your garbage man collects everything. It's sorted at the materials recovery facility. It's put into bales according to what type of metal it is. For example, we will use I don't have it, but imagine I have a Pepsi can or any type of soda can of your choosing in my hand, and it gets piled up or compressed into these bales, these square things. Then it gets melted into its simplest form, then manufactured again. And then after manufacturing, it's bought by the store and boom, it just enters the loop all over again. Metals work. The metals commonly recovered are steel, tin, and aluminum. Glass is the same thing. Okay, glass is a little different though, because you have different colors of glass and different types of glass. To be safe, water bottles, right? Glass water bottles, great, right? Your Mexican soda, your Mexican Coca-Cola bottles, safe. Your mason jars, safe. Your Modelo beers, safe. And then you have this, your glass cup, not safe. Do not put these inside the recycling bin. Put these in the trash. These will be sent to the landfill. Again, they just go to the MRF. They get processed and sorted out there. And then they get crushed into these small, it says here, cullets. And then those cullets are, I believe they're melted. I'm not sure. They're melted. And then after that, they get converted to new glass and bought again. There's an end point in this system. And what I mean end point, meaning there's a person buying these resources. And as long as there's people buying this stuff, businesses buying the recycled material, then recycling works. Plastics is another thing. Look at this. That's the easy stuff over here, right? But then you got the plastics. To be honest, I went on a rabbit hole on this stuff. One may say that I put the tin hat on, but man, once you deep dive into this stuff, it gets you thinking, which I'm really proud of myself for doing, because we should be critically thinking. We should not lose that. We lose that when we're scrolling on our phone and just getting all the slop. I digress there. Let's move on to composting. I like composting. Check this out. Let's go look behind me. I got all these plants. Plant, 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 and plant. And behind this box, plant over there. We got many plants in here. And what do plants like? They like soil. And what is compost? It is rich soil. All you got to know about composting is you got your organic material, you mix it up with some dry leaves, some dead leaves, and then inside what happens is your organic material gets eaten through some scientific process, and then you get some mulch, and then that mulch becomes the rich soil. The main point of composting, if there's anything that you should get from this, the main point of composting is it cuts methane emissions. I'm going to get a little scientific here, but once you compost, those organic materials release methane. And what composting does is it traps the methane, because you are putting that decaying organic matter inside the dirt. So all the methane is just sequestered. It's trapped in there. You could compost at home. You could get your food scraps, and then you could get some leaves, some dead leaves, mix it up together, put it in the dark and put it in a bin. And then essentially it's going to be composting in there. Just move it around ever so often. And the thing about that is it could take months. Check this out. Vermicomposting. Vermicomposting is where you get your food scraps and those dead leaves, put it in a bin, and then you smack dab put those worms in there. Oh my gosh. And then what happens is those worms eat the food scraps, and then they poop, and then that poop is that rich soil that you want. It's awesome. Science is awesome. The best part is in 8 to 12 weeks, you could have... My neighbors are bouncing around upstairs. My gosh, we're going to go on a little tangent here. If you live in an apartment complex, be polite to the people downstairs. And if you got kids and you're talking about like, oh, I can't control them, learn to control them, or just don't produce any kids. I digress there. Anyway, vermicomposting. It takes 8 to 12 weeks to produce really good soil with these worms. So let's go ahead now to the landfill. Here is the truth about trash. We produce so much of it. Just do a quick Google search of landfills, open landfills, and it's disgusting. Huh? They're not pretty to look at. And the thing about trash is they produce methane gas, which is very harmful for the environment. You do not want to be living right next to a landfill. A closed landfill is science. It's pretty cool. Here, I'll do my best to explain it. Your trash gets collected, right? And then when your trash gets collected, it gets dumped into this landfill. They dig a hole, they put like this soil and this sand and also a tarp, and they put again soil and sand, like they put it in 3 or 4 or 5 layers of this stuff so that whatever leaks out of the trash doesn't leak onto the ground. Okay, what they're trying to do here is they're just trying to prevent any leakage and any spread of nastiness to the ground and to the environment. But they put this tarp down, they put the trash on the top, they pile it on in squares or cubes, they compact everything, right? Everything gets crushed and then it just gets stacked. And once the stack gets big enough, they close the landfill, they do exactly what they did at the bottom to the top, and then they build these cool structures to collect the methane, and they use that methane to produce electricity. It's pretty awesome. Like, you should watch this video right here, the hidden engineering of landfills. For the most part, we bury our trash. The question I thought about is, at what point can we not bury our trash anymore? That's just a question that I want to leave you with, and maybe you have the solution for it. The issue of this is leachate. So have you ever got a trash bag, like taking it out of the trash and then it just starts leaking? Well, imagine that at a large scale. And that's what's constantly happening in these landfills. When it rains, right? It rains, well, the water just filters through all the trash, collecting all this nastiness, and that nastiness is called leachate. And that leachate needs to be contained. That's why you have the soil and the tarp system going on at the bottom and the top. So the leachate gets filtered out, it gets pumped up to a storage tank for safe disposal. That's another question, is like, what do they do with this nastiness of water? Because I don't know what you could use that for. If you think about it, and I'm guilty of it, I threw away batteries in the trash. That battery acid gets filtered out with the rainwater and then ends up in this storage tank. What do you do with it? It's poisonous. It's nasty. This is long-term storage. This is always happening, right? If you see like one of these plants around the area and then just like empty nothingness, maybe a park, then you're on top of trash. Okay, I don't know exactly where one of these is, but they converted a landfill into a park, which is awesome. But like, how I thought of it is like, what if the methane collection goes wrong, right? And then you have like pockets of methane inside the ground, really close to people. If it just like catches on fire, it could just blow everything up. If you think about it. Okay, maybe I'm thinking too much, but it's something to think about. We've created man-made islands of trash. Somewhere in Asia, there's a whole island made from just trash that we've created, right? And it has this whole system going on. It's awesome, but it's like, it poses lots of questions, right? So let's get out of there. Let's go into the monster here. Let's go put our tinfoil hat on, because I dove in deep in this. Let's go over the plastics. You throw away your plastic, it goes into the waste collection. It gets transported to the materials recovery facility, okay, where all your recyclables go. And then they section it off, and this is like a subsection of the MRF, which is now your plastic section, where they sort your plastics according to these numbers here, which is very confusing. And then it gets bundled. Your plastics, I did not know this, but they get shredded. It's really cool. They get shredded into little pellets. Then they get washed, superheated and cleaned and everything, sanitized. And then they get melted to create new products. And then the cycle just continues over and over again. Now that's awesome. But here's the issue. We don't create plastics that can be recycled. We create plastics that are just going to be used once. You've seen all the commercials saying that we're recycling our plastic bags. We are not. For the most part, we are not. They just end up in the landfill. Your straws, your stirs that you get at Starbucks, your utensils, those are single-use plastics. They do not get recycled. They go to, you guessed it, the landfill, and we produce so much of that crap. And I'll tell you why, but let's go over the resin codes, okay? The resin codes are just a fancy way of saying there's different types of plastics. You have resin codes 1, 2, 3, all the way till 7. The confusion here is that people don't know about these codes and they just think, well, it has this sign here. I'm familiar with this, and that means that it's gonna be recycled. Wrong. It does not mean it's gonna be recycled. It was a trick. They tricked you. They tricked me. From this article over here, the only plastics recycled in any significant amounts are number 1 and number 2 plastics, which are soda and water bottles. Those are the only items, the only plastics that get recycled. And out of all these plastics, take note of this, and I read several articles, it's about 9 to 10% of the world's plastics actually get recycled. And then again, you think, does it really get recycled? Because we can't trust the government. I mean, our government is run by satanic elite pedos. Do you think they care about recycling? No, they do not. Okay, tin foil cap on. They do not care about recycling. But doing my research, it's like, okay, well, the idea of recycling is awesome. And okay, it seems that we're recycling. But I digress there. These are the resin codes that you will find on your plastics. And dependent on the resin codes is dependent on if they get recycled or not. The bottom line here is, if not properly disposed, plastics break down into microplastics, which is detrimental for the environment. And that's what we see in the commercials is, microplastics. They're hurting us. They're bad for us. And they're just totally, it's our fault, right? It's our fault that this is happening. But let's go ahead and go on to this right here. Was the cardboard straw propaganda? We're going to answer that question as soon as I talk about it a little bit more. But we all remember this, right? We remember the turtle with the straw in its nose, okay? And then all the fast food companies made us convert to paper straws. But here's the thing about paper straws, okay? The thing about paper straws was they did more harm than good. We saw the ocean being polluted more with these paper straws than these plastic straws. Landfill emissions, when they rot in landfills, paper straws can release more greenhouse gases than plastic ones. Another thing here, recycling issues, I mentioned this previously. Many of the paper straws have plastic wax linings, making them hard to recycle or even compost properly. So we can't even put them in the compost. Let's move on to more of the rabbit hole. There was a research conducted by the University of Antwerp, Belgium, that these paper straws have PFAS. And remember that TikTok video of that guy exposing all the products with PFAS? Well, the thing is, we were ingesting the PFAS. We were eating that stuff. We all know the taste of the cardboard straw. And the thing is, plastic has PFAS too. And even glass has PFAS too. But the thing is, we're not ingesting the plastic. We're not ingesting the glass. We were ingesting the straw, which had the PFAS in it. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. And here's more on this article. Bamboo straws contained more PFAS than the paper straws. It was worse. The best course of action to combat the turtle video was to 1, switch to glass and metal, and 2, dispose of your trash properly. The issue here that I have with these paper straws was how they pushed it onto us. In my opinion, recycling and waste removal cannot be pushed onto the consumer. This is a production and waste resolution problem. What they were trying to say in simple terms was, this is your fault. All this litter, all this garbage, all this plastic that is littered all over the earth, this is your fault. It's not our fault. It's not the consumer's fault. And this could be a conspiracy theory, but businesses and contractors and fishermen, they just dump trash in the ocean. In 2018, or this is fact, in 2018, China stopped accepting trash and recyclables from the rest of the world. Where do we put all our trash that we did ship out? Like, where did they put it? And then we go to this part of the plastics. Recycling plastics. Does it even matter? Here's the thing about plastics, guys. Plastics are made from fossil fuels, which means oil and gas. Now let that sink in. It's the gas companies that create these plastics. These oil companies that make these plastics. Do you think they give a damn about the environment? Here's this quote from this video. It's a satire video, and it says here, "We're not going to spend millions of dollars sorting through that when we're already spending millions to convince you we're sorting through that." Excuse my language. Psychological warfare. Larry Thomas, former president of the Society of the Plastic Industry, said, "If the public thinks that recycling is working, then they are not going to be as concerned about the environment." Psychological warfare, guys. It is us versus them. It is rules for thee and not for me. I may be crazy, but all this information is out there. And check this out. Recycled plastic is much weaker than virgin plastic. And the thing about virgin plastic is it's cheaper than recycled plastic. So think about it. From a business perspective, which one would you buy? The stronger, cheaper stuff? Or the recycled material, which is weak and more expensive? I would definitely go for the virgin plastic. And if you are going for the recycled plastics, you could stuff it up your asshole, because you're definitely not doing that, you lying sack of piece of shit. So, I digress there. Okay, that was fun about plastics. Let's go on to some challenges here. People just don't know, or they don't care. Some people, they don't know what their city accepts or doesn't accept. So people just end up wish cycling, right? They throw stuff in the recycle bin thinking it's going to be recycled. And they're like, okay, yeah, I'm saving the environment. Hooray! Psychological warfare. Because you decided that it's best to put an item in recycling when it should have just went into the regular trash to the landfill. Some businesses, they don't comply with the state laws. Okay? At the very beginning of the video, I showed the 3-stream station at In-N-Out. I used to work at a fast food restaurant. I was a manager there. And I'll tell you the truth. We put all that stuff inside the big black trash can. Our cardboard got recycled, but that's about it. We didn't compost. We didn't do any of that stuff. It probably goes for all businesses that they do the same thing. And then let's go here to contamination. You have stuff like medical waste that ends up inside these recycle bins when in reality, they should be put into a special bin, or else you'll have like a case of Resident Evil. But we already have a case of Resident Evil because, for example, I live in San Francisco and there's a part of the city that is just littered with medical waste. Like needles. And I'm pointing fingers at you, Gavin Newsom. What are you doing with that $24 billion or some absurd amount of money? If you look at Nick Shirley's video, or like one of his interview videos, volunteers were handing out needles and Narcan to people overdosing on the street. So the Narcan when you overdose, and clean needles to do the drugs again. And then you just go in this cycle. It's disgusting. I digress there. Oh, one last thing. Oh my gosh. One last challenge that we have to go over. Okay. Some cities don't have recycling programs. They discontinued everything. I read this comment on TikTok. Many cities discontinued their recycling program years ago due to funding, but don't want to upset the citizens, so they keep the facade going. This is 100% true. And then I found this article here, Mississippi's largest city ends recycling. This was in 2019. Crazy that they have made the decision to get rid of recycling, everything. They got rid of recycling as a whole because they found out that it's more cost effective to just put everything in the landfill. It's just crazy to think. They're just creating, we're just filling up this earth, beautiful earth, with more trash. So check out your city. Let me know if you have one of these discontinued recycled programs, because I would want to know, being from a city that points at us for not recycling and throwing away trash right. We're in California where we gaslight each other, low-key gaslight each other for not doing the right thing. Myths? I don't know if I really want to go over myths, but it all goes to the landfill anyway. That can or cannot be true, because again, there are cities that don't even recycle. If it has the symbol, it's recyclable. Okay, we know now that those signs mean something. Number 1 and 2s most likely will get recycled. Anything else? No. Okay, and this is for plastics. Compostable equals compost? Not all the time, because some items may have that wax layer that will not be compostable and might contaminate a whole batch of compost, thus making that compost go inside the landfill, creating more methane gas, which is harmful for the environment. Let's go over solutions. The best solution that I have for you guys is to find out your city's trash guidelines and do your best to follow them. Here is the Daily Cities Trash Guide. And there's a whole PDF on this. It's way bigger than just this screenshot that I have here. And this is really important on solutions: reuse and repurpose items. So reuse, like these right here, these mountain valley spring waters. I have a bunch of these in the home. And I have like little stations in the home where I just fill these up and just leave them there. And so we don't always have to go to the kitchen to drink water. You have these all over the home. Get crafty. Get creative. And if you don't know where to put the trash, if the label is unclear, just throw it in the landfill. Throw it in the trash. Another big thing here is take advantage of your city's recycle solutions. One of my pastors at my church mentioned this in the comments: Bottle Bank. It's a service where you could just drop off your recyclable items. They weigh it, they scan your bag, and then you get paid. I'm going to try Bottle Bank. I downloaded the app. Check out your city and see if they have a program like this. Support How to Recycle. They simplify the recycling process. Here's this label on the Amazon bag. That is very easy to read. It says, it has the recycle sign, paper bag, recycle. Okay, it actually doesn't tell me to recycle. But over here, oh, maybe it does. It tells me to recycle because it doesn't have an X on it. This one over here, it tells me not to recycle. It has an X over the recycle. It tells me it's a plastic bag. I don't know how to support these people, but they simplified the recycling process, and they want to get a label just like that, just like this. Very easy to read on all items. It's going to be much easier for us to read this and to educate ourselves, to know where to put our trash, know how to recycle. I love this. In closing, what should you do now? Still, I encourage you to separate your trash. In my opinion, throw all plastics in the landfill. Just throw them all there. The thing is, the producers, they will pay millions of dollars to tell us to recycle. But they themselves are not going to recycle, and they themselves are going to just make more plastics for us to consume. And then they're going to make these commercials gaslighting us for having so much plastic when they're the ones that give us the plastic. The best thing for us to do with this plastic epidemic is to just limit our use of plastic. I believe we're just on a ticking time bomb on this earth with these landfills. One day, we're going to have nowhere to bury our trash. And we're just going to be on top of these landfills. While we're on top of these landfills, what could go wrong? What could go wrong with these landfills? With a buildup of methane at the bottom of, like, let's say one of the tallest buildings. What could just go wrong, right? But the thing is, that's going to be a long time. We have a long time before that happens. And I will be dead. You will be dead. Our children will be dead. Our grandchildren will be dead. But our great-great-great-grandchildren, they will have to handle this problem. So now we're back on the main screen here. Trash. And I want to just say thank you for watching this whole video. And I hope that you got something out of it. I hope you got some truth out of it, because that is my goal. It's to figure out the truth and to spread the truth. And if you have some truth, let me know in the comments below or email me. My email is there. And also my Discord is there. All my socials are down there. DM me so we can just have a talk. Marky F baby out. Bye.